former senior military intelligence officer that's still with me in the studio. We don't normally have a guest at 10 o'clock, so we didn't get a chance to have such a long chat, Philip, but lots to talk about. We talked about the non-crime hate incidents. We'll see, won't we, whether or not other police forces follow suit and whether we actually do get rid of them, and the recording of them and the disclosing of them. I mean, please, can you spend your time dealing with crimes, not non-crimes would be an idea.
Well, isn't there a crime of wasting police time? So if senior officers tell their constables to go and do this sort of non-crime stuff, they're wasting police time. And they're
but also, as we heard from Lord Young from the Free Speech Union, 40% of the cases they deal with involving these are involving, women being accused of transphobia, simply for pointing out that men aren't women and men shouldn't be in women's only spaces.
When I saw Graham's post that he got arrested for, where he talks about hit them in the testicles.
Trans women,
if someone who's identifying as a woman can be hit in the testicles, that is quite amusing.
It was literally the whole point. The whole point is, well, they couldn't possibly have
that's
those.
Quite amusing.
I mean, but there we are. But this is the thing. But it's. I mean, it's all subjective. But the point is, people who do make those complaints should be told you are wasting police time. If you make another complaint, you will be arrested yourself. That's what we need to do. We need to have the blowback. That's the crucial thing. Let's also talk about the allegation of sabotaging of the grooming gangs inquiry. Now, it took 4 months for the Prime Minister to finally be dragged kicking and screaming to agreeing to a national statutory grooming gangs inquiry, because the point was made that, it can't be local councils investigating what happened in their own area, because we know that local councils were part of the cover-up of the grooming gangs. Now, we've seen yesterday 2 of the victims, now survivors, obviously Fiona Goddard and Ellie Reynolds. They both resigned very publicly from the victims' roles in the liaison panel, saying they were being silenced. They were part of the role of just helping to find a chair. 4 months, they haven't found a chair. These inquiries are always chaired by a top KC or a top judge, okay? And apparently the people they're looking at are people who are senior former social worker and a senior former police officer. So the 2 groups who are in authority, who are accused of being people, the organisations, which deliberately covered up the grooming gangs issue because they didn't want anyone to think they were racist or Islamophobic, because it was basically largely being perpetrated by Pakistani Muslim men. And they just... we'll just let all these white girls carrying on being raped and abused and beaten and tortured. Not a problem, because we don't want to be accused of being racist. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And these girls, these former victims, girls, now women, of course, they basically said, look, we're being silenced. They're bringing in, they're looking at people who are totally the wrong fit for this inquiry. And yet again, I mean, this is dragging on again. We're talking about this has been going on for 20 years. It's still going on right now. Accusations that Sadiq Khan, the London mayor, is covering up what he knows about clear evidence that there are grooming gangs in London. Why wouldn't there also be grooming gangs in London? And nothing's happening. Why did they want it to go away so badly?
Well, the current government, we have to blame the previous government for not getting the inquiries going
absolutely.
But the current government wants it to go away so badly because a large proportion of the councils are Labour-run councils, and a large proportion of the seats for Westminster that the accusations are coming from are marginal seats for individuals that Labour think are stars or up-and-coming stars or important people in the party, and they don't want them to lose their seats. And
it's really that simple.
It's down to internal party
and here's the
politics.
thing, this ties in with the next point we just touched on, because we're going to talk to a guest in a moment, but Prince Andrew and all the allegations against him, having sex with Virginia Giuffre when she was 17 years old, when she was being trafficked by his big mate Jeffrey Epstein, convicted, paedophile, teenage prostitute trafficker. I mean, just he's denied any wrongdoing and then paid 12 million quid to the woman who claimed he'd had sex with her, even though it would have been totally illegal in this country for him to have had sex with her. She was above the age of consent. But who hasn't? Surely you've paid 12 million quid out to someone you've not met. Surely.
Oh, frequently.
Okay, you've got to ask where the 12 million came from. Okay, because
no, you can't ask that.
Yeah, well, the Queen had to basically pay it because he hasn't got any money. Which is weird, because he's not been paying rent on Royal Lodge for 2 decades. But again, this is a story that the royals want to go away. The government everyone wants this story to go away as well, because it's all embarrassing. Because who knew what when? And one of my issues is, I think clearly Prince Andrew knew perfectly well what Jeffrey Epstein was. So did Sarah Ferguson, and they didn't care. I think there is a lot more stuff that's going to come out, and there's a lot more that's going to come out in these emails that are gradually coming out of America. There are so many other issues in terms of this. I couldn't care less whether he's got his title or hasn't got his title. I object to the fact he's apparently a very rich man who can afford to do goodness knows what and fly around the world, but can't afford to pay rent on a property which is owned by the Crown Estate, which is supposed to provide money to us. But also, again, this is about a cover-up. This is about everyone just hoping it goes away because it's embarrassing. That is not how justice should be done.
Correct, it's not how justice should be done. And we've got one individual who's been grooming young people, who is being rightly vilified across the front pages, but we've got tens of people in marginal seats who are not being vilified and given the same sort of level of publicity because one is a public figure and the others were part of grooming gangs. We've got double standards across the board here with everything that's going on, and a lot of those double standards are down to the press. The press should be hitting the government hard for covering up the grooming scandals in the same way that they're rightly hitting Prince Andrew, who everyone that I know who's met him has always said he is one of the most obnoxious individuals they've ever come
across. Not against the law being obnoxious.
No, it's not. But
I mean, that's how I've got away with it all these years.
He was unpleasant, obnoxious, and he
entitled.
More than entitled, and not like any of the other members of the royal family. I've met a lot of them, and they are lovely and they're really nice, but the stories that come out about him, no. And he
this is
really,
true.
He really
I think there are
plenty
of people want to see him go. But again, it's he has denied any wrongdoing. He's not actually been accused of any crimes. But again, I don't see. I mean, this ain't going away. But the media aren't going to let it go now. I mean, and the public hate him. That is certainly the case. Look, I want to talk